Hear that, Henry?
Do I hear what?
Exactly. There's no horrible puns in this podcast. It's the sound of zero puns this week.
Yeah, we can announce a pun-free podcast.
In the same way this podcast is 100% GMO free, this podcast is going to be 100% pun free.
Welcome to the Wicked Awesome Cast. This is episode 156, I believe.
Sound right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. So, yeah. Welcome to the podcast, and we are here to talk about games, and we're here to talk about things, and we are here not to say puns.
Just the gruesome twosome this week.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the ongoing police investigation and all allegations pointing otherwise, and what was said last week at the end of last week's podcast, I did not murder Alex. But he's never coming back, and he's off the podcast forever. No, he's actually in LA, ironically, visiting family, but his also equipment's up north in Portland. So while me and Henry actually physically got to be in the same room as him, he was not going to be on the podcast this week because of complications with that.
Yeah, and I like that he got a good chance to visit all of his family while he's down, or at least as much as his family as he can fit in, like possibly in each hour of the day. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it would have been nice to be able to do a live podcast, but yeah, that wasn't in the works really. I mean, we hadn't planned anything out like that. So
the answer is maybe next year. Like the studio is, I'm actually gonna work on the studio a bunch tomorrow, so hopefully in the near future we'll get that more set up so it will be possible. Right now, none of us really have a space that works for that just yet.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
no.
Yeah, I don't have enough room where I usually record.
I, in theory, have enough room. It's just the equipment I have currently is definitely not up to the task.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you been up to this week, man?
Honestly, I didn't play that much in the way of games. I didn't play anything new, really, or anything recent. But I did get up to something I felt like was really awesome. So I did one of those 4D VR experiences.
Oh?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that they had them in town, or that that they were affordable now. I mean, that's really the big thing. Like, it's super affordable. It was actually very cheap.
We talked. So those who've been a long time listening to the podcast, we talked about, I think, like a Ghostbusters version of that. And I personally have been dying to try one of these, and we were hanging out actually literally yesterday. Henry mentioned these were in town. I was like, oh shit, they're actually here. So this is like this shouldn't be a new thing to anyone, but like none of us have actually done these yet. So what was this one, I guess, Henry?
All right, so this one was a horror-themed one, and kind of escape room-ish, and that's it. So it's kind of like doing a VR. It was definitely like doing a VR game, and so this one was called Nicodemus, Demon of Evanishment, and it was at a place called the Void, which is a chain. And so this one, it was intense. I mean, that's one way I would definitely describe it. It was massively intense. It was really, really awesome. And so, in case you don't know what 4D is kind of used to refer to, it's for these VR setups that aren't just virtual, but there's a physical thing beyond them.
Well, it's not just 4D. If you're a theme park person, you like all those theaters where they shoot water at you and have fans and stuff. Those are also technically 4D experiences.
Yeah, and so they try to have, for example, walls where there are actually walls. If there's like a something to grab, like there's an actual thing to pick up, or if there's something you need to push or turn or open, then there's a physical object behind there. And so when you reach out for it in VR, you're actually end up grabbing something, actually like grabbing and manipulating an object. And so yeah, but also they added what you mentioned, like water sprays.
Yeah.
As oh yeah, there's also it's an entire setup, so they're all standalone setups as well. And so it's not like you're tethered to anything. You're carrying around your computer. I'm assuming they're all connected via Wi-Fi. That's probably how they're all connected.
Was it heavy? Like, obviously you didn't have a scale with you, but like, were you wearing like 50 pounds of gear, 10 pounds of gear?
I'd say probably 15 pounds of gear. It was not that light. So it consisted of three main parts, really. So it had and they're all connected. And so the backpack section is the computer, and it has a large rechargeable battery that they can kind of swap in and out when they need to. And that's basically the computer, and I guess some other sensors probably, from what I could tell. And then that is strapped onto you via a special vest, and the vest is one of those React vests or Rumble vests or something. Well, in any case, the whole thing is like a Rumble pack. The whole thing will shake, and it's pretty intense. I mean, it was pretty heavy duty. And then, of course, the third part was just the helmet itself.
Well, if you were to explain what you looked like when all this stuff was on, like, was it a VR, just like they strapped the goggles to your face, or was it like a full-on helmety thing? Like, were you a Master Chief or some weirdo with a backpack and like a bunch of cables all over you?
Yeah, I mean, they minimized the amount of cables, and so there's not so many cables going on around you. But yeah, you kind of look like and I'll put out the picture a little later on my own Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. But yeah, essentially you're strapped up. You kind of look like a Space Marine.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a full like heavy duty VR helmet. Like, I mean, it'd be comparable to the Oculus or anything like that. But yeah, so you put on this pretty big contraption, and I think just because of the weight of the whole thing, it's only about 15 to 20 minutes, the entire thing.
Okay, so it's heavy enough you get tired, though, after an extended period of time, probably.
I think you would. I didn't. I mean, at certain points, you practically forget you have it on.
Sure.
Until it's, like, going nuts and shaking you.
Sure.
And, yeah. Also, there are microphones. So there's definitely a microphone and speaker system built into it, so you could hear each other.
That's like TeamSpeak or for communicating with the facility?
TeamSpeak.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what the reason for that was, other than I think, well, because one of the things they do, or I don't want to give away too much of it, but I think it's so that maybe other people don't hear you talking about it from outside of it.
Sure.
Because your mouth, and you end up, the helmet covers your mouth too, and so you're very much covered. Like I said, that's why it's even a little bit more like a full helmet, because the microphone is embedded in there too, and so you have this. So you basically are communicating in real time with everybody else, but now it's covered up. So I remember a group going in before me, and I didn't really hear them, not very well, that is. And I'm pretty sure that's because they were covered up and communicating via this TeamSpeak.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that also helps, there again, not give away the secrets. But because, especially something like what I did, the particular one that I did, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it too much because I don't want to ruin it if somebody wants to do it. It's that good. Cool. It was that intense. It was super good. And it was relatively cheap, too. It was only like $35 or $40. I forget, is somewhere in between there. And so, compared to what it was like hundreds when these things first started popping up. And so, yeah, so it's become very affordable. It's generally for, like, I think groups 1 to 4, like 4 max. And so, but yeah, they have you go through this kind of a mini maze. It feels a lot bigger than it is just because of the way they do a lot of trickery. And so, because VR can really play with your head on what's going on, let's just say that there's definitely some surprises in it. And at certain times, it feels like you're moving, like you're moving along, and you're not actually. And so, and yeah, it's a pretty extraordinary experience. There is gamified elements to it, as there are to all of them. I noticed that there also had some. Now we didn't have one for ours, but there are guns. There are also some
Okay.
virtual guns. I'm sure there's something like laser tag ish guns or something like that.
Oh yeah, the one I referenced, the Ghostbusters one was you busting ghosts. So yeah.
Yeah. This one, The Void, it seems to be either owned by or affiliated with Disney.
Huh.
And so so this one in particular, the Nicodemus one, is unique. That one I think seems to be developed like by in house by them. But the other two things that they had there at the one I went to were a Wreck-It Ralph one and a Star Wars one. And so, and I noticed just when I was signing off on because of course you have to sign a waiver. So I just noticed whenever I was signing off on the waiver
Mm-hmm.
that that there's something about Disney, like it's Disney subsidiary or something like that in there. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Looking at the other two things that they're putting on,
Sure.
and I think both of the other two, just because they show kind of some preview of the other two, they both involve using one of the virtual guns.
Okay.
And
That makes sense.
so yeah, that makes a lot of sense for the Star Wars one, and it makes us, and I guess it also makes sense for the Wreck-It Ralph one. That one seems to be you going through a bunch of video game worlds,
Sure.
which I think that one might be fun. But really,
Yeah.
the one that we did, which was actually for a friend's birthday, that one really, that one was definitely up my alley because I love horror movies. I love horror media in general. Like I love horror video games. But yeah, I like to be scared because I scare very easily. And also, this one had a bit of a escape room element to it, and so I like escape rooms as well. So I mean, it kind of hit both of those things, and yeah, I've never been anything quite like it. Definitely, really nice setup, really cool setup, but it's crazy that it's actually affordable now. Like really affordable. I mean, that's not a whole lot of money to spend. I mean, granted, it's not very long, but considering all the technology involved, as well as just the whole setup, like not even just the 4D part of it, also takes a lot of work to sync all that and make sure all of that is working correctly. So I just remember one of the first things that happens is of course, you get virtual avatars.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking around at each other and just like it's picked kind of randomly. So we just but it also it's in real time detecting where your hands are. So it doesn't. There's no sensor. You aren't holding sensors. They're just using sensors to see where your body parts are.
Interesting. Like, was there were there gloves or anything like that went along with that?
No,
Huh.
no. It was all built into the rig itself. So I'm thinking that the rig or something, or the maze or something, I'm guessing it's the rig, I don't know, has some sort of maybe something kind of like a Kinect on it. Like a Kinect where it's like a camera and then it's an IR camera that's shooting a bunch of IR beams everywhere so it can see where your hands are. Because it was pretty close, actually, especially when we're in even reasonable light. It was pretty 1-to-1. Like I could even like bend my fingers and stuff, and I see myself. I could see myself whenever I need to manipulate an object or something. And so that's the other thing that I was really surprised on was that I could look at my hands and they were virtual hands there floating around, and I could look at everybody else and there's a virtual person. And so, and they also size them up to approximately your height. So when you first see each other, if you look quickly, you'll see kind of a tiny version, and it kind of grows like Ant-Man to their size, stretches out to their height. So that was kind of a little bit breaking at the very beginning to watch them kind of Ant-Man into existence, but
Okay, so I'm actually on their website right now. This is actually the exact same company that did the Ghostbuster thing. I was kind of curious if there was going to be anything that would show off the tech a little bit, so I get a better sense of it. So It's actually a bunch of locations. They have one in a bunch around California, Dubai,
Yeah.
Edmonton, Alberta, uh, Genting, MY. I'm not sure what that one is. Another one, LA, Las
Hmm.
Vegas, Linden, not London, Utah, Orlando, Florida, Santa Monica, Toronto, and West Plano, Texas. I thought there was a New
Hmm.
York location for this, but apparently not anymore.
Whoa, Plano of all places.
I
That's interesting. I lived in Plano for
Huh.
when I was very young for a while, so I'm familiar with that. It's a suburb of Dallas, like just north of Dallas.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's quite a few locations. I think, as far as I know, I think it's actually based in Utah.
That's
So I
what the
think the
website
Linden.
seems to be conveying, and they also the site seems to imply they may be part of Lucasfilm technically, which might be the Disney connection you were going at.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the other two things going on at the one that I was at was Wreck-It Ralph and the Star Wars experience.
Yeah.
So, I wonder. I wonder if they'll put one of these in Disney World. I guess we'll have to see that. But.
Don't know. This seems different enough. Like you mentioned, it's ticketed events, not just to walk in and do it. It's not insanely expensive, but
Yeah,
it's definitely an upcharge at that point. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, Disney has its upcharge stuff, so or does right? Yeah,
Sort of. It's
yeah. I can't. I haven't been. All right, so fun fact: I have not been to any Disney thing ever. Like I haven't been to any of the theme parks.
okay. Yeah,
So
the websites. If you go to the Void's website, they have a pretty good image of what the gear looks like. This really is some Space Marine ass looking shit. I should have looked at this earlier.
yeah,
This is actually like defendably cool looking. It's a little nerdy, but like I'm watching
yeah.
the Star
Well,
Wars trailer right now, and it's
yeah.
huh.
Like I said, so it does fit go over your mouth too, because there is a speaker system. There's a communication system as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in particular, it would probably feel right if you were like a stormtrooper.
That's what you are. That's what you appear to be in this thing. It's
Yeah.
or you're
So it
a rogue trooper. You're in,
definitely
like, some
feels
blue
like
armor?
yeah, it definitely feels like you're a trooper. You're a space marine of some sort. So,
Yeah.
but I have to say, I definitely it was practically like I wasn't wearing anything.
Huh.
It was. I think it was because of the nature of it being a very very frightening experience.
Sure, you
So
forget.
it was super intense. But yeah, it's honestly, I am blown away. I I've done some development for VR. I mean, I've even taught a little bit of development on VR and experimented with it. And I mean, that's next level. I mean, when you throw in the 4D aspect, that's
So this has
crazy.
always been the thing I wanted to do in VR. I mentioned I wanted to do the Ghostbusters thing, but it was kind of unobtainable for a long time. It's
Hmm.
like the idea of doing VR in your home has always seemed kind of like I don't like to use the word lame, but like it's been lame in my opinion. Like it's the okay, cool. I'm on my couch in VR. Yeah, not what I ever wanted to do. And the idea of you go to kind of a VR space and it does its thing. That's something I always thought seemed really kind of cool to do. And this like the website even proclaims like you'll believe in VR after you, and I actually kind of believe that because this is what I've always like. This is what I want VR to be at this point in time. Like I know
Yeah.
we can't get my dot hack sign future of me putting on the helmet and paralyzing my body and risking death in game just yet, but
Yeah.
this is kind of as close as you can get to that, and that seems to be like that seems cool because you're not stuck setting up that whole clear space and you actually are physically touching stuff and it's immersive at that point as opposed to like yeah you're still some asshole in this computer room and
Yeah.
this is wireless
And
enough that you're not dragging around like 100 pounds of cable, which most VR systems cannot claim, although the Edge and the new stuff does seem to be a lot better than it used to be.
yeah, the newest I mean, they have I forget. The Oculus Go has been superseded by something. The Oculus
Yeah.
I don't remember. That's also a standalone.
Yeah.
system. I forget the name of the new one. It'll come to me. But yeah, exactly. This was actually like full on. Like I said, there were walls where there were supposed to be walls, doors where there were supposed to be doors, objects to manipulate and to move around and use. And that was the thing that really blew me away. It was like, oh, that's a thing I can actually like. Oh, that was kind of crazy to actually be able to feel stuff, and then also like at certain points feeling the water spray.
Yeah.
And as well as the react vest, the vibration vest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense experience. But yeah, that's the VR that I wanted more than the doing it in your own home, which is cool in its own right, but to actually have it detect objects. Like I said, it was set up so that it detected your hands without the need for controllers. And I thought that's actually incredibly impressive to me. I think that actually is the most impressive part to me, honestly, was the fact that I could look at my hands and there's virtual hands there, and I'm don't have to wear any gloves or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very complex system that they have set up here.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's now super affordable, I mean, that's not that much in the scheme of things, to be honest. And and I'm glad that I was there with a group of people. I mean, so
this definitely appears to be kind of a thing you want to do with a group. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't be not fun by yourself, but
sure,
they've built it to be a team experience.
It's like doing a solo escape room or escape room with randos. Like, it works, but it's not as cool. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was definitely the highlight of my week. That was it blew me away.
Yeah,
it really did. I did not know what to think of these things, going into it. I didn't have any preconceptions whatsoever. So,
yeah.
So, what about yourself?
I played. I'm still playing A Plague's Tale and Rage 2, but I kind of stepped down on those some. Dauntless, a game we talked about a long time ago at this point, officially released this week on Epic Store, PS4, and Xbox, and maybe on Epic Store a week ago. I don't know. It's now kind of fully out there and quote a finished product. I remember playing it. God, it feels like 2 years ago now at this point, at least. And it was, at the time, someone stabbed to make a Monster Hunter game for the PC audience. I'm gonna kind of make a weird comparison now. If you think of Monster,
Monster Hunter is on PC.
It is now. At the time, Monster Hunter World had not been announced.
That's true.
Anything, let alone PC at that point in time. When this game kind of first came to fruition, and it's a free-to-play game. It's got a battle pass system to it, which I actually don't think is a bad thing necessarily for Dauntless. But I would compare this to actually this is the perfect example. Like, if Fortnite is the kind of Fortnite Battle Royale is kind of the free-to-play World of Warcraft cartoony, whatever you want to call it, kind of version of a battle royale. This is what that game is compared to Monster Hunter, which is kind of the PUBG, ultra-realistic, bullet drop, crazy systems version of the battle royale, which would be Monster Hunter. Like, the games are similar in that in both games you hunt monsters and you do it primarily with melee weapons and you build stuff off of them. But like the style of both games is super different. Dauntless is kind of cartoony in scope. Where Monster Hunter feels like you're actually stalking these monsters, Dauntless is very much kind of a boss rush almost. Like, you drop into a map, you hunt them, like you wander around the map long enough to find the monster you're looking for. You set up a flare, and then your team kind of gets to work beating it to death with its weapons. It's not bad. Like, it's very. When I first played Dauntless, it kind of felt like this will be the Monster Hunter game for people that want the old school version of Monster Hunter and don't necessarily want the new version of Monster Hunter. I think that still kind of applies, except like this is this is very streamlined. This is kind of Monster Hunter for filthy casuals, but not in a sarcastic way. Like you can jump in, hunt some monsters, and jump out pretty effectively in an hour. Matchmaking works well. There's not a ton of preparation before a match. It's still a lot of fun though. Like it's different enough. The weapons are different. There's more mysticism in Dauntless than in Monster Hunter necessarily. It works. But I think where I kind of hope this would be like old school Monster Hunter, where it was kind of very boss fighty. This is that, but not as Monster Hunter-esque, which isn't a bad. It's weird talking about this because I know the beta I played was pretty bare bones, and I would argue this game's not that much different than that. But that's fun because I had a shit ton of fun with the beta I was playing and the kind of closeness of it. And this definitely works. For a free-to-play game, this thing is fantastic. It plays great. The weapon variety is solid. It's got that go hunt monsters, get their parts, and make new gear out of them. Unlike Monster Hunter, it's a lot easier to get the gear, and then swapping the gear is also a lot easier. Like, on the last screen in a mission, you can be like, oh shit, we're hunting a cold monster, but put on that cold gear stuff, and rather than kind of long trees for the gear, you upgrade the existing gear you have to make it more powerful. I like it. I like it a lot. Like, I've been having fun with it. We'll talk about this more in the news, but it's got crossplay on everything. So my account for PC is my account on my PS4 and my Xbox, and you're playing with people that are on Xbox and PC and PS4 all in your party kind of thing. It launched with full crossplay.
Well, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I personally really like the art style.
Yeah,
I'm a big one when it comes to art style and environments in a game. Like, honestly, that's what draws me, or at least is a separator between similar games. Which one looks better sometimes? I mean, if nothing else kind of separates them other than the way they look, like if they work fine, the mechanics are similar, and the game actually plays fine, the art style separates it for me. And the art style here, I love it. It looks fantastic. I like it a lot. As
a huge fan of Monster Hunter World art style, I like this one too, because it's again, like you're saying, it's a similar game, but it's different enough. It's like, yeah, like this is not as hardcore a game down to like every aspect of it in a good way. Like the art style is simple enough. They can do weird monsters. Like in the beta, I fought an owl bear thing that punched tornadoes at you. That was a lot of fun. I've not gotten back to that guy yet in this thing, but so far I've fought like a giant demonic squirrel, a couple like an ice dragon thing, a fire dragon thing, and like a dragon thing, if you will, also too. Like they feel different and kind of it's like WoW, where it's got a real kind of flair for that cartoony aesthetic to it, and it works really nicely. Like I like it a lot. Like but it is simplified. It's a lot less. There are way fewer systems, but not in a bad way, and the free-to-play monetization doesn't feel terrible yet. I also don't know, though, because I have some kind of Founders Pack thing going on in the background, and a bunch of my progress from the beta carried over into this, which I don't know how that works exactly, but cool.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a battle pass. I have not invested in the, quote, premium battle pass. I have like a base level battle pass, and it may be that as a founder I have base level battle passes for life, because I did technically pay money to play this video game at one point in time. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, like, linking up my accounts was super easy. And yeah,
that's really what's impressing me there.
Yeah.
The crossplay and the linking of accounts.
Yeah.
Because, wow, that's not common. I mean, and it's more common now than it ever was before.
What this game does is not common at all yet. Like, this game is doing, crossplay-wise, what I want Warframe and Destiny to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. So that just helps your player base.
Yeah.
Especially for a game like this where you don't really solo. I mean, I guess you could.
You can. It's just not as fun, and it takes longer.
Yeah.
Like, so that being said, at least the first couple days I was trying to play this game, I had crazy server connectivity issues. Those seemed to be fixed, and it wasn't so much the servers were bad as they were just fucking full.
Oh. So, yeah, I guess that's the other side of that one. But yeah, I'm guessing it's not too difficult to queue up and to play with random people. Like, they have a good matchmaking system.
They have an okay matchmaking system. To kind of keep the obvious comparison going, compared to its main competitor, Monster Hunter World, it has a actually functioning matchmaking system. Like, compared to Monster Hunter World's bullshit matchmaking system, this one is great. You go, you request a quest, you can say solo queue or look for a match, and it does that, and that says, hey, we found a match for you, jump in, and then you jump in or you don't. I'm assuming there's a party system. I just haven't bothered to try it. There's a whole tab for it and stuff. It's what you'd want from a queuing system in this game. Like, the only way you could make it better is if I could jump into the queue from anywhere in kind of the social hub. But I get it. Like, they have these, they have in game like a go over to a message board, click the message board, and be like, haha, I'm hunting X.
Well, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and it fits lore-wise, kind of thing. Like, it's you are a slayer. You slay the beasts on this weird floating island world. It's fine. Like, this is a free-to-play game. The lore is not there yet, but also kind of, it's a Monster Hunter game. I've never cared that much about why I was hunting stuff in Monster Hunter, except because it was there and I needed its pelt to make cool-ass armor.
Ooh, it looks like they're adding ninjas.
Sure, like that's very much what this game would do to a certain extent.
It's for Season 5 pass.
I'm already rocking the chain-blade weapons because I think they're cool.
Actually, that's the one that I know that's what I would want to play, because when it comes to, like, alright, so when it comes to a lot of games in general, any sort of games where there's kind of one-on-one fighting, like, I like close-up fast, close-up speedy fighting. I don't like these sort of take your time and try to get that one good hit in.
So I
like to flitter around and just hit a lot.
I like the dodge on the chain blades the most. So nothing in this game is as slow as the weapons in Monster Hunter, which I think is both a good and a bad thing. Like, Monster Hunter combat is not for everyone. We both know some people that, like, in theory should have dug that game, but just could not get behind the weapons. That is a game about finding your weapon and mastering it. Like, in that game, I like my charge axe. But I absolutely get how many people are like, this game, I do not like how it swings, and I'm totally... you're totally right. It's kind of a weird fighting gamey thing. The combat in this game is more accessible. Like, it's very easy to find the weapon you want to use, and unlike Monster Hunter, the damage is kind of balanced across all the weapons. Like, the chain blades are faster, but they don't do meaningfully less damage than, like, the giant poleaxe style thing to make it so you're really going like, I'm not trying to get my damage in with this thing. Like, it's pretty normalized, which is a good thing, I think. And it kind of comes down to, do you like how it plays? Like, I like the chain axe things because not chain axe, the kind of chain picks, whatever they're called in the game, because their dodge is cool. Like, you can vault off shit or pull yourself to shit for their special move, and their dodge is just kind of traditional, like, burst dodge, as opposed to, like, swords, which is a roll, but it's kind of burst move is you, like, get the fucking Inuyasha wind score, you're slicing air at people from a range, which is cool in its own way, but I'd rather, like, fucking chain grab people.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, for instance, when I play Terra, I play a ninja.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's a fast character that can flitter, like I said, flitter around and just hit things a lot. So, I mean, alright, so I guess I'm kind of curious about whether, so I see they have these weapon classes, essentially.
Yeah.
Is there sort of, like, people with more health and less health, like tank-like or whatever?
So, like Monster Hunter, this is where it gets kind of weird, where your gear makes you who you are. There are no
Okay.
classes necessarily, and your move set and what type of damage you do and all that is tied to your weapon, which is cool. But then your health and your resistance is purely your armor, and so I made this comment and convey like Monster Hunter. If you're fighting monster ice monsters, bring your gear with ice armor, with ice resistance on it. Like there's not one best equipment for all scenarios. And I'd argue, unlike Monster Hunter, grinding for that gear is really easy in this one. Like there's a lot less stuff you have to get and gather to make new gear. So this is kind of the like if you've always thought Monster Hunter looked cool, but always thought like it's a giant time sink, which it is. Like Monster Hunter is a franchise that brings us great phrases like, "Oh, you played 1,000 hours? Cool, you're finally out of the tutorial." Like it is I have played a lot of Monster Hunter, and I'd like, yeah, I'm better than an intermediate, but like I'm nowhere near like expert or even good at the game. Like I'm fine. I don't negatively impact the hunt. I know where to hit with my chosen weapons and stuff, and don't get in people's way. Unlike you fucking charge sword people that are like, I'm gonna go after other stuff and not do my job. Twin blades, you should never attack ahead of anything. Just saying. Yeah, but like Monster, you can change it up. Like you're not ever tied to one thing. Changing your gear and your loadouts is as simple as going to a menu and just changing that. I want to say you can even change your character. It's fully customizable even after you make it because who cares?
That's cool.
I'm not sure I looked into that enough. Yeah.
I've been thinking about getting into it. And the zero price, the free price definitely is it's attractive.
And like but Dauntless is great. Like Dauntless is a fun game with lots of potential. Like, and it's what it is what I want it to be, and that's kind of weird. It's not as complicated as Monster Hunter World, and that's fine. Not every game like this needs to be Monster Hunter World, but more competition to Monster Hunter that feels like Monster Hunter is good. Like Monster Hunter existed, it's like, oh, God Eater exists, and God Eater is fine, but also God Eater kind of sucks. Like, I like God Eater, but also, like, it's some pretty anime-ass bullshit. It's a very anime-ass version of that game, and it does some cool stuff, but at the same time, though, too, it's still got kind of the JRPG downfalls of, like, man, these are some teenagers saving the world. Ugh. I just want to hump the monsters. No, we have to have a story. Oh man. Let me go bash shit to death. Yeah, it's a solid launch. The game plays great still. They have nowhere to go but up. Like they can totally add more weapons. They can totally add more stuff. Like they can add more. In free to play games, you always want to be trying to add more, and they absolutely can so far. The monetization is not egregious yet, so I'm kind of I don't mind battle passes. The idea of a battle pass isn't something I think is terrible. If done correctly, at least the one seems fine.
Yeah.
Like it's got some solid rewards in it. I'm getting stuff from the basic stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the team games. I like the games that, and that's what this one, it really is. I mean, it's basically, it sounds like it's basically all raids in a sense. And and there's quite a few games that do that where it's kind of like you drop in somewhere for a mission, not just to wander around. Is there a hub world or is it just
Yes, there is a hub world. It's called Ramskull, I want to say, or something. And it's not so much raids, it's all boss fights. Like to be fair, I fought a boss like little critters off of it last night, so it's. I wish the worlds were a little bit more kind of whatever to them, but at the same time, like I could just go play Monster Hunter World if I want that. Like there's something satisfying about you drop into the map and you fight a fucking owl bear that punches hurricanes at you or some shit, and you're dodging all of this and you win and then you go home kind of thing. Like there's a drop-in, drop-out aspect of this that other versions of this game don't have. So you can just, I know it sounds like I'm not praising it for this, but I really am, where it's like, you can get shit done in this game in like a half hour and feel productive, and in Monster Hunter, you're like, man, I need a half hour to get all my stuff lined up so I can go hunt. No, so I can, yeah, like that is a plotting game in a good way. Again, like this is the game if you've never played a Monster Hunter game but been curious about them for a long time. Like this is a great entry point to this style of game. And you're right, it's free, so free is a great price for this type of shit.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for instance, like, I still like to drop into Left 4 Dead 2 every so often.
Yeah.
And it's because of that team aspect. And, of course, Dead by Daylight, which, Dead by Daylight, they've recently released a new chapter, or I think they've released it now, Scream.
Yeah.
They've added Scream as an IP now, which now I'm starting to be afraid of them, and I'll go into this further in the news, but I feel like they're taking on too many IPs to make money, and I'm worried about it because now, all right. So I've been following Dead by Daylight for a practically since it came out.
Sure.
Just, I mean, it took me a little while to actually buy it, but I've definitely been like following it since it was announced.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so the first time when they first announced the very first thing, which was Halloween, which was adding Michael Myers, it was very exciting. And even when they started adding more and more, like Leatherface and Freddy and stuff, and
taking it wide, if you will.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know they don't have the Scream Killer yet, but that's the very, very next one coming up. But I'm starting to get worried that I hope they don't keep taking in too many more, because now at this point, all right, so they have Halloween, they have Nightmare on Elm Street, they have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they have Saw, and yeah. So I mean that's quite a few just right there. That's a lot of IPs that they're using now.
Sure.
So I mean, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I don't want them to take on too much because, man, I really enjoy the game. I don't get to drop into it and play all that often, to be honest. But man, it's a fun game, and even their original killers that they've put into it are super cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, now they've got like no less than 5, and they're looking for a 6th. They're looking to add a 6th one now. So
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, as long as they're not like, they haven't seemed to make a broken one yet. And if it's been broken, it's been intentionally broken, kind of thing. Like, I find their kind of original killers cool. So I hope they have a couple more of those coming down the pipe. But
yeah. Just kind of to go completely off topic, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I like the main point is I like the games where you can really just drop in and play. And this, I mean, Dauntless sounds like one of those where you can just, you're like, I have 30, 45 minutes to play a game, and I can just drop in, and it's done. It has an end point, has a beginning point, and an end point.
Yeah, and I'm sure the harder monsters will be harder, but yeah, at least for the low-level stuff, you can drop in and accomplish something in a short period of time and not be like, oh man, I wasted... Like, again, like Monster Hunter, which is a direct comparison, is a game that takes 5 minutes at a minimum to set up for a hunt. This is hit the loadout screen while you're waiting for another map or while you're waiting for a batch and just go kind of thing. Like, it's just dropping in is easy kind of thing, which is good, and I think it works well for this game. Like, it takes longer to get into the game the first time because there's a cutscene and stuff than it does to jump into a match, which is good, at least for now. And it's fun. Like, I think a casual Monster Hunter game, there's been a void for that for a long time, and I think only good things will come from this, because I'm not sure if I say this correctly. Like, I'm not sure. Like, there's no way I can say this will sound better, but like, it's the Monster Hunter is a kind of insurmountable wall for so many people, but it's a cool, fun concept. This is that concept kind of watered down, but not in a bad way, like distilled down to its most kind of defining characteristics in a good way, where it's like, no, just go kill some monsters quick. Do it. Go have fun. Then get back to base. Yeah. Like it's like some of the nuances of Monster Hunter where like there's no carving, collecting's a lot more kind of informal in this one. It's whatever. Like
Okay.
it's like you don't have to harvest the monster after you kill it, which you do in Monster Hunter, which isn't a bad thing, but like it's not as immersive, but also Monster Hunter is full of dumb bullshit where it's like not dumb, but like it's possible to hit your your co-players with your weapon if you're using a big swingy weapon, which could be disruptive. And yeah, if you've been curious about Monster Hunter, go play Dauntless. If you think it's cool but want more depth, then go check out Monster Hunter World. It's really good. Both are really good. One's just kind of a more accessible version than the other. Yeah. And yeah, it was kind of that for that. Me and Henry both saw Alex this week, as we've alluded to a couple times. It was cool seeing him. He is not dead, despite common lies. And I did something big that I can't talk about till next week because of confusing statute of limitations on it. But yeah, we have something cool to talk about next week. Teasers, I guess. But because of that big thing, it's been a busy week on my end, so I didn't have a lot of time to do stuff. Like, still plugging away at Plague's Tale, like I said. That game is still good. I think I'm nearing the end of my rope with Rage 2. I just don't enjoy it the way I need to keep playing it, and maybe, like, that feels like a game I can come back to after I get my main PC set up again and can really mouse and keyboard it the way I want to. My laptop just isn't the right game for that, or right setup for that game, unfortunately, which I don't think makes the game worse, but it will make the game more fun to be able to have my high-end mouse and stuff hooked up, which I could, but I'm not going to do the big monitor and stuff like that effectively with my PC. It's just not the right thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Dauntless one's on my PC, on my laptop, so yeah. News?
News?
Yeah, let's do some news. Oh, God. We're going to start with the most important news of this week. We did
My
it.
favorite news.
We delayed Sonic.
News. By several months.
Even. Yeah. They have delayed the Sonic movie to 2020 to fix Sonic's look.
I'm still the whole situation kind of blows me away. Because, I mean, I guess I'm in the minority that was just like, it didn't bother me that much, really. It bothered other people more. And we already talked about at length why, but it's like, but the big part of this, it's more than that, it's the fact that they actually responded and were like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess we will change it.
Well,
and actually, even, yeah, I mean, that's, I just responding to fan criticism to that extent, I'm really, like, kind of blown away that they did that.
So it's not clear what, quote, fixing the model's going to imply, but, because this could come back way worse, hypothetically.
Oh, yeah, oh, yes. I mean, yeah, I shudder to think. But, I mean, I I've worked with and taught 3D effects artists and 3D artists, and there are a lot of work goes into this stuff. A lot of crazy amounts of work goes into this stuff. So,
what do you think of the bizarre conspiracy about this?
There's a bizarre conspiracy?
Yes. So, the bizarre conspiracy is that they're not actually fixing Sonic. They already had a good Sonic ready to go, but by releasing, quote, the bad Sonic, they've drummed up way more attention for the movie, and now when they come back and like, yo, we listened to you, it's all good, people can be like, yeah, I'm gonna go see it now!
I don't really believe that, or else,
I don't either, but it's fun to joke about.
But I am glad that they actually were like, we're just going to delay the movie instead of trying to fit it into their previous date, which would put them actually in a...
Oh, yeah, no. The announcement of this was tagged with, hashtag no VFX artists were harmed in the making of this film.
Yeah, which honestly, that's kind of cool. I definitely give them that as like, instead of just saying, all right, we heard your concerns and we're going to rush this sucker out, it's still at the same exact time so that you get your movie when you want it. No, they're like, we will take some extra time to make this right. We'll actually like give our artists time to actually do the work that needs to be done. Because, I mean, a rush job, I mean, you talked about, we don't know what we're necessarily going to get. What do you think we would get from a super rush job? I mean, I think we'd end up with glitchy, like his hand going through his face and, like bad glitchiness in the movie. Like, I think that's a big chance if they rushed it. But, so, you know what? Kudos. They're actually gonna, they're, like I said, kind of oddly actually responding to the fan response. But also, they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just delay it to make sure that people actually come and see this thing.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be a good movie. I think there's a lot of things in it that say it's probably going to be a decent movie. I don't think it's going to blow anybody away. I mean, it's not going to... Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be an enjoyable movie. I really do.
Yep.
I think Jim Carrey will carry it, just like we've been thinking he probably would. He's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
And even like, the other actors, it looks fine. I think it looks fine.
I think it looks like a weird video game movie, so it'll be what it is kind of thing. Like, will it be good as Detective Pikachu? Probably not, but in hindsight, I didn't bust down the door to go see Detective Pikachu. Still haven't, so maybe neither of these movies are for me at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not the Yui Bowl super cheap cash-ins on licenses.
There's a certain charm to those two, but yes, you're right.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. I'm not gonna. No. All right, so I will say this: the only one of the Yui Bowl game adaptations that was fun was Postal, but it's because it seems like he's clearly actually having fun with this movie, where the other ones were just cheaply made cash grabs.
That was the one I was referring to. Like, that one's even a bad movie. It's also kind of a, why would you do Postal? Like, why would you dredge up that dark spot in history?
But the actor they picked for the lead, I like that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he I've seen him in a lot. You probably don't even realize that he was from... A lot of people don't realize he's from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
He's the bully. But, yeah, great. Honestly, like, that was the one of the Yui Bowl movies that seemed like he actually liked filming it. He even appears in it and kind of makes fun of himself in it. So, I mean, but yeah, we don't get good video game movies, but we've gotten better than we have before. We're starting to anyway, I guess. Hopefully, Sonic won't just crash that again.
Yeah. But I guess kind of in the same vein as we don't get lots of good video game movies, Sony announced recently that they're doing PlayStation Productions, which is the idea is to adapt games into kind of film and in-house TV stuff.
So they've kind of tried this. They kind of tried to do something because they wanted to put stuff on PlayStation. Well, PlayStation Plus already has some movies.
Yeah, again, like in the kind of dumbest category ever. In the same way that you used to be able to buy movies through Steam, you can buy movies through PlayStation. I don't know why you would, but you can.
Yeah, and I can kind of understand why. If you want your PlayStation to be your all-in-one entertainment center and not have to click to other apps, or turn on something else. I mean, I definitely understand it, but yeah. So they had tried to do some original programming on there, and it was not great.
I think it was just the one thing. It was Powers, which I remember when they announced that at E3. I'm like, I like Powers, and then I got PlayStation Plus because I was an adult and could finally afford it, and then never watched Powers.
Yeah, I have no idea if it was good or not, but apparently it wasn't popular.
I made it like 2 seasons, I want to say, and then got canceled or something. It also happened in kind of the pre-Netflix original content era. Like in PlayStation's defense, like the realm of digital exclusives and digital media and kind of streaming only platform stuff has changed a great deal since Powers from Sony kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
we're living in a totally different world where maybe that would do better now. Like the TV shows I'm most excited for in the upcoming year, the upcoming months, are on streaming platforms and not actual TV shows in the traditional sense. So what the fuck do I know? Like fucking Game of Thrones proved that like one of the top viewed shows in the history of TV can be on an exclusive ass channel you have to buy a streaming platform for, or an expensive TV add-on essentially. So screw it, who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's interesting. I mean, Sony Pictures has been a thing for a long time. They've been making movies for a while.
Yeah.
So it's not like Sony is sort of dipping their toes into TV and movies. They've been doing this for some time.
And there is
not
a whole
always
branch
awesome.
There's a whole branch of Sony that does movies and shit too.
Yeah. And so the Fantastic Four movies.
Weren't those Fox?
That was. That's right. That's Fox, not Sony. Yeah. I think it's an interesting move. The fact that they've announced they want to do TV adaptations and original TV stuff. All right, so that's something that's actually really rare outside of the odd cartoon that is from a video game.
Castlevania, we're looking at you.
Yeah, we don't have TV shows that are based on game IP. It's live action. Like, I can't think of any. Like, I can't think of a single one that's... I only think, a live action game IP as a TV show. Except for one that I personally worked on, Defiance, back in the day. But I mean, that's a different thing where they were built at the same time. It was built to be both from the start, not adapted. But I think, in my opinion, I think that actually the TV medium, the episodic medium in seasons, would work better for a game. Because many games tend to be pretty episodic in the way that it presents the action to you or the way that it presents the story to you. I mean, there are your sweeping epics that are about one long story, but even that usually ends up as a series of vignettes of individual battles or kind of sub-stories or subplots. And a TV show would actually give you the proper room to explore that, rather than being stuck in and just trying to do it within 3 hours and having to, make sure that you're covering as much as possible, or at least one section. Yeah, I think actually a live action TV show would lend itself really well, because honestly, the cartoon adaptations of video games have often been pretty good, to be honest. I mean, the Persona cartoons, the Persona anime, very popular. Very well liked, very popular, and basically just, in a lot of ways, just very much adapting the game. Just using the exact same art style and everything.
Yeah.
And I can think of many others, I mean, that I would say went the direction of being adapted from a game into, not adapted at the same time. I mean, I kind of do and don't count Pokemon in that thing. Pokemon was always developed to be
its own
an all-in-one media.
Point,
media. Well, it was always meant to be a mixed media thing where it was going to be video games and a TV show. But so I mean, the cartoons, we actually have, even back in the day, good cartoon adaptations of video games. I mean, the Sonic cartoon and the Mario cartoons are both good. Honestly, they were fun.
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily hold up if you go back and watch them, but they were fun and they were fine. They definitely didn't bomb. But yeah, they worked really well because they're all episodic. It's and the games are episodic. I mean, especially a level-based game is super episodic.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see PlayStation Productions make a live action TV show from a game IP. I think that could be incredibly cool.
I think it could be. I am forever going to be on the fence of I remember Heroes, but I'm more than happy to be proven wrong kind of thing.
But I mean, with the success of, and you mentioned it, Castlevania,
Yeah.
which is for it's for not just anime weebs like me. That
they're making anime for non-weebs?
People...
Sacrilege!
Yeah. I mean, and of course there's a similar thing, though not video game related, in the Devilman series that also came on Netflix.
Yeah, that's a weirder pull, but yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I say it because they're both kind of developed. There's still a large stigma when it comes to a cartoon that's aimed actually at adults. That
sure.
is for adults to consume, and so that's not as common outside of Japan. But I think both of those on Netflix kind of prove that no, you can do that. You just have to do it well.
Sure.
And you have to do it interestingly, and that's it. I say that's it, but you just have to do it really well and take it seriously. Take the IP seriously and take the writing seriously. And
sure.
I think both of those adaptations. So yeah, I think there's definitely room there for PlayStation Productions to make something good that's even aimed at an older viewing audience. So
yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of all we can at this point.
Yeah.
This announcement has nothing really attached to it except, yo, they doing this.
Yeah, like for sure, like actually established, and this is happening.
Yeah.
Rather than just rumors. So it's officially been launched. So, I mean, or I guess they haven't launched anything, but they're officially in business. Like, this department is up and active. It has people working in there now. So.
Yeah. We'll see. Where to go next? And we're talking about something. Might as well talk about the PS5. And at least for me, it's very confusing to read. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We kind of now know what's officially inside of a PS5. Sort of. Maybe,
yeah.
Kind of. But so Sony got out there and kind of a more wide without actually showing off pictures of the actual console. Really kind of detailed out what they're doing with the PS5. They talked about the SSD stuff they're doing. Primarily, they showed off kind of some loading screens with Spider-Man, actually, as the case example, where they did like things I did not realize but totally makes sense. The movement speed of how fast you can zip around New York City in Spider-Man is capped at a certain kind of maximum rate. They uncapped that and kind of showed the problems of you outrunning the render and stuff. Then we're like, okay, cool. So here's the game running on PS5 hardware, and yeah, it looks fucking great. Keeps up with that render.
Yeah, looks like they're using AMD technology,
Yep.
which is interesting.
And
that's really interesting considering that they've been using Intel.
I think Intel's in a weird spot right now. Like, I don't remember what went into the PS5. I think they're trying to avoid a PS3 situation where they had like fancy, bizarre cores going on that made it hard to develop for. I don't have the exact article for this, but like I remember reading somewhere that like the hardware overlap between the PS5 and the Xbox Crimson or whatever the hell it's going to be called, I think it's called the Crimson or Scarlet or something, are pretty friggin' identical at this point. Like there's obviously some differences, but not enough to make a really big difference, if you will.
Yeah, now they're just prepackaged PCs. And that's kind of why I'm really not interested still really in buying a console. Because it's just like I'm getting something that still costs quite a bit of money,
yeah,
but is not as useful as a computer. I mean, it's still can't do everything that my PC does. Like I can't do development on not easily and not You can't. I can, my PC, I can just fire it up and I can develop in Unity, or I can develop in using, Unreal Engine or whatever, and I can just develop in whatever on my PC here, and I can't just do that. I mean, it's just. But for people that don't need all that stuff, I totally understand. I just need more than that, and that's why I just spend my money on nicer PC parts rather than buying a console. But yeah, it is interesting now that they're. And yeah, I mean, the cell architecture for the PS3 was extraordinary to the point that the U.S. military made a supercomputer out of linking a bunch of them.
Yep.
But yeah, now they're all just prepackaged PCs.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's. I don't know. I have a PC, so I mean.
Well. So, and as a big part of this kind of press blast they emphasized the fact that, I'm not sure if it's almost all of them, but it does seem like if you have a PS4 game, it'll work on the PS5 just fine. Which is a big deal.
That's super cool.
Yeah. It'd be cool if it went on more things backwards compatible, but I'll take that level of kind of console generation crossover.
Yeah, and in this case it makes sense, seeing as how they literally have the same type of hardware. I mean, there's no, when it comes to programming, for at least just for the CPUs, I'm not talking about the GPUs, but even for the GPUs to a large extent, there's not a lot of differences here. There's really not a lot of differences here that we're dealing with. Because at this point, I mean, if you put out a graphics card, if you put out a CPU or a graphics system, it has to be compatible with the other existing ones that they use. Like I remember in the the early Wild West days of video cards, you didn't just have OpenGL and DirectX. You had a whole lot of proprietary ones like the Diamond video cards and Riva TNTs and all that stuff that, it was proprietary, and different video cards couldn't run the same games. And that was kind of awful. But now, all the video cards work with each other. Well, I mean, I'm talking about consumer ones, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all work with each other. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have an AMD card or an NVIDIA card. It's just they'll both still run the game. Yeah. And so now, and so it makes sense that at this point, especially from the PS4 to the PS5, from what it sounds like, they have the same type of hardware. They aren't going proprietary. So
yeah, it's smart.
Yeah.
I guess kind of sticking with the same vein of consoles progressing some. I talked about some earlier, but again, Dauntless is full crossplay day one with all of the consoles, and PC for the Epic Store for that matter, and it's coming to Switch and mobile in the near future, or in the future, allegedly.
Ooh,
it's a big deal. This is what I want from these games, like in the dumbest way.
Yeah.
So, I kind of jump back to the Monster comparison for a quick right now. Right now, Monster has the weird problem where the PC version lags a couple months behind the console version when it comes to content, and it would sure make a hell of a lot of sense to bring those things up to parity of themselves. Like, you could get me to buy the PC version if it wasn't lagging behind. The fact that Dauntless out of the gate is going like, yo, we're going full crossplay, your stuff is your stuff, have fun, is a real big deal to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too. Especially, alright, there again, I am pretty much an all PC player. I don't own any new consoles. It's like, the newest console I've ever bought is a Dreamcast. Yeah. I have a 360 at the moment because basically a friend more or less gave me it. Well, no, my friend gave it to me. I don't really use it that often, to be honest. But, yeah, I'm probably not going to... I'm very unlikely to buy consoles for reasons that I already mentioned. But, yeah, having some crossplay, me being able to go on and play with my friends that do generally primarily play on their PS4 when they play video games, that would be nice. That would be super nice.
Like, this is kind of the weird thing I've been talking about for a while. Like, it's the you could get me to play Destiny 2 again if I could just bring my fucking character from my PS4 to the PC at this point. I would play that game again in a more meaningful way if I could do that. But I can't, which means I'm not playing Destiny 2 anymore. Warframe has the same problem where I like playing that game on PC, but I occasionally don't want to have to go through the full process of getting on the PC version. I do not get why I don't have a shared account for that game. Again, I would play more of it if it was a shared account, but it's not, so
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of make the time for it occasionally.
Yeah.
It's a good move. I really hope it pays off for Dauntless. And
Yeah. And I hope other people are watching.
Exactly.
Or other
Yeah,
developers are watching.
It's such a
We
big
like
deal.
this. We like this thing. Don't make us buy the same game 3 times because, by the way, we probably won't. I definitely won't.
Yeah. Well, speaking of buying the game 10 times, Riot, I'm not sure it's officially announced just yet, but it's pretty well rumored and pretty well confirmed. Riot and therefore Tencent, because remember, Tencent owns 100% of Riot Games. Never forget that, you racist pieces of shit that are like the Epic stores dying on us because of Tencent. Riot appears to be making a mobile version of League of Legends.
Okay. Now I can have 12-year-olds curse at me over my phone?
Yes! It's not clear. So it's not clear what this means. But
yeah. And this is alright, so I don't know if I mentioned this before. I used to play League.
Yeah.
I mean,
We all
I
did.
actually, and I bought a couple of the skins, even characters and skins. That the one, basically the 2 characters that I ever played, Sona and Fizz. But yeah, the awfulness drove it off for me, and now I can get awfulness in mobile version. Yay!
Well, so it's not going to be a 1-to-1 port. It's going to retain the MOBA-ness of League, if you will, which I think is code for we're probably not bringing your account over. You could probably link the 2 for some reason. MOBAs on phones have existed for a while.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't done this already. I think Fortnite did a really good job of showing you why the fuck you maybe probably want to have, if you can, a mobile version of your game, even if it's kind of shitty.
Yep. Well, man, your phones are cheaper than a PC or a console, so depending on the phone, I guess that is.
Yeah.
Some phones are definitely way more expensive than like a PS4 Pro, and it's crazy, but yeah. Okay. Make a mobile version. I'm not going to play it.
Yeah.
Unlikely to play it. I don't tend to play a lot of games on my phone anyways, and I don't own a tablet.
I've been playing more slowly but surely, but like they're not... I like my idle clickers. I'm not sure I call an idle clicker a game in the traditional sense. Like, I like my brick breaking games, I like my idle clickers on my phone, and those are 2 game styles I'm not sure I want to play on anything else. Yeah. For those kind of curious what motivates this whole Riot Mobile League thing, Tencent put out a game called Honor of Kings, which shared a lot of DNA with League of Legends, did really fucking well in China, didn't do so well in the US. But it would make a lot of sense to, bring one of the most popular games on the face of the planet to mobile, to monetize in areas that mobile is a bigger deal. Like, part of why games do really well on mobile in other countries is that they have different gaming laws. Like, I think for a long time in China, you couldn't own consoles. You still can't really necessarily own consoles as widespread because they were, like, against the law. You had, like, a gray market coming out of, like, Hong Kong for them.
Yep.
Just nuts to think about, but...
Yeah. I mean, you find the same thing, like, if you go to, say, Brazil...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a console costs as much as average year's salary.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating.
No, yeah, I know.
Literally. It's crazy. And so all the games tend to be bootlegged. Like, if somebody actually can afford a console, they are surely bootlegging all of their games.
As someone who's looked into buying a Brazilian PS2 in the last couple of years, because you could still get them new in box. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, having a phone or a tablet is, it's more widespread than owning a console,
Yeah.
and generally cheaper.
In the words of Blizzard, do you not own phones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like especially for Android tablets, there's such in China, you can get an Android tablet for pretty cheap.
Yep.
And
kind of anywhere you can get one for pretty cheap at this point, but
the market has just gotten to such that you can buy a tablet now and it's not going to set you back nearly so much. And so I mean that's the thing. That's why the Nintendo DS and 3DS outsold everything ever because they're way cheaper and they're portable.
Yeah.
But a big part of it is they're way cheaper. That's a huge part of it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, and if you're a parent and you're like, kid wants a console, it's like, are you going to buy the $1,000 one? Or are you going to buy something for like $200? It's like, that's an easy question.
Yeah.
Pretty much any parent. So, makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Kind of in the same vein as the Tencent Riot Mobile League of Legends, Valve is making their own version of Dota Auto Chess. So this is a weird one because the makers of original Dota Auto Chess are making a mobile version that's not inherently affiliated with Dota Auto Chess. But then Valve is also making their own kind of official version of Dota Auto Chess, which is already a mod for Dota 2, which is a Valve property at that point. And unlike kind of other previous games, they have not brought the makers of Dota Auto Chess in-house. They're just kind of doing it themselves.
Now, I'm not familiar with what auto chess is. How does that work?
Auto chess is neither Dota nor chess.
Okay, that's confusing already.
Yes, so it's a game made for mobile in some ways. Like it got real popularity. It's not for me, but I played a couple rounds of it. Basically, so it is Dota in that it uses Dota sprites. It uses the characters from Dota. But the way it works is you have, I think it's teams of 4, and you fight another team of 4, and you pair off against the opposing team, essentially. And the way it works is that you kind of position your pieces on the field. You start off with very few pieces, and you wind up with more, and you upgrade them as time goes on, etc., etc. And there's like bonuses to kind of chaining a couple ones together and stuff. But you have no control over the combat except the initial setup of position, and they fight. It's kind of like Clash of Clans in a weird way, where you kind of set your side up and throw it at the other one, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But you have a health bar that goes down with each loss, and the goal is to kind of be the last team standing and the last person standing at that point. It's weird. And so Dota Auto Press Prime was a mod for Dota 2 when they kind of made the whole Steam Shop thing. And it was pretty shittily made in some ways. Like, it worked well and it played decently enough, but like it frequently used stuff for free it wasn't supposed to, like skins that were in the store that you didn't have to buy to have access to. Like, it did some weird shit like that, and like the text for it was super bad. Like, this was the most mod-ass mod ever that took off in a weird way. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now, and yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's community developed.
Yeah,
but interesting. Yeah, that it's like community development inception.
It took the Dota community by storm in bizarre, meaningful ways. Like, this was a big.
I'm just saying, just the roots of Dota being originally a mod. Dota being a mod of Warcraft 3, and now we've got a mod of a mod.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. But yeah, and see, I was hoping that there was going to be more like Archon, if anybody's familiar with
Nope.
that old game, which was actual battle chess, basically. Where, if, in case listeners aren't familiar, Archon is a game that was released for multiple consoles, actually. I played it on the NES, but it was also on PC and some other consoles, too.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, it was you moved pieces around like chess pieces. But once two pieces actually ended up on the same space, they actually fight each other. And then you would actually, in live combat, fight the other piece. And the way it worked like chess is still that some pieces have an obvious advantage over others. They just do way more damage and don't take much damage from certain pieces. There's just advantages. But that's what I was hoping this Dota auto chess would be. Apparently, it's not.
Yeah.
but that's interesting. Yeah, that they are taking a mod of a mod and making that official.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's a weird one.
Okay, then.
We live in strange times.
Yeah.
The strangest part is that Drodo is kind of doing its own thing. Those are the guys of the original kind of mod for auto chess. So, yeah, this is a confusing headache. Speaking of confusing headaches, what if I told you the Ouya wasn't dead yet, Henry?
I would say, what?
Exactly. So, when I saw this news come through, I was like, really? What the fuck? So, apparently Razer owns the Ouya now, which I did not know, because it's the Ouya. But after
why would they?
They probably bought it for nothing. Like, yeah, we own you. You can own the Ouya then. So, after 6 years, the Ouya store is officially coming to an end. What does this mean? Well, not a much, because I think it's been like 4 years since you could buy a new Ouya last time I checked. But you will no longer be able to download stuff. Like the store is going to kind of go into hibernation mode. In June, they will shut it down and bring it to an end. It's not clear if this means... Yeah, so the device of the Wii was discontinued back in 2015, so it's been dead for a little while at this point. But the website kind of interface for the games you could buy stuff has still been around. But
okay,
yeah.
Oh, the Ouya. I mean, the idea just it's just weird. I am kind of surprised still to a certain extent that it didn't really work out well.
Have you ever touched an Ouya controller?
No.
They're terrible.
Okay, well that doesn't help.
Yeah, like the Ouya successfully rips off but makes bad one of the best video game controllers of all time, meaning the Xbox 360 controller. I don't know how they did it. Holding an Ouya controller is inherently surprisingly uncomfortable.
What they do? Get Mad Cats to make it?
You joke, but it really much feels like one of those things. Like that's the only explanation I can come up with that makes. Yeah,
Yeah, well, goodbye, Ouya. For real now, I guess.
I think that Ouya also has the problem of, like, it was a cool novelty thing. What would you have bought an Ouya for?
Apparently now a paperweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a chunk of gaming history. If you go to the Ouya website, their website will be shutting down on June 25th, 2019. I remember playing Duck Game on this thing, and that being like the big thing people were pushing, and I'm pretty sure you can play that on other consoles too, so
yeah.
Like Towerfall was the big reason to own one for a while, but that's on everything else now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm on their website right now, and I'm really enjoying that the top-rated game, I guess, right now on the O rank list is Bomb Squad. A game came out in 2017, followed by a bunch of games that came out like 2015 or earlier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
And one of them is GBA.emu, which I'm assuming is an emulator, followed by SENS 9X EX Plus. So
another That's actually an emulator.
Yeah.
That's actually, both of those are for sure emulators.
Oh no, the top 20 has
yeah.
3 emulators in it.
Buy a console to play other consoles. Sure.
Yeah. Yup. So long with you.
We never knew yet.
Yeah, but kind of speaking of kind of funky, weird consoles, Playdate, the publishers of such games as Firewatch, is trying to launch their own kind of interesting little console thingy. And I might buy this because it looks dumb in the right way. So it is... you should Google this because it'll be the best explanation kind of visually for you. But it is essentially like an old school Game Boy that you crank for power.
No, I don't think that's for power.
Yes. The crank is used to
no,
power
it's
the
a control
console.
method. No, it literally says you might think the crank is used to power the console, but no, it's a control method.
Ah. My bad. I'm less
That's what I thought
now.
first too when I saw it.
I'm less interested now.
Yeah, actually that would actually be kind of cool if you could power crank it to make it work. But the thing is, it's black and white.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be like an old... Well, I mean, it looks like an old Game Boy. But I guess it's going to be an old Game Boy. Yeah. I am definitely never going to buy this because it costs like $150.
It is a little bit expensive for what it is.
For an old Game Boy that with very limited digital controls. It has a D-pad
and 2 buttons
and two buttons and
the
crank.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If this was some like bullshit like survivalist video game console where you had like crank it for 5 minutes to get an hour of power, I'd be all over this. But now that it's a control input, I'm less interested.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made sense if it did power it because it's only a black and white screen. It's a black and white LCD screen, so it's like you could have just made it also power it via the crank. Yeah, that's for me. I think that's gonna be a hard pass. All right. So I'm a person who actually did have a Game Boy, original Game Boy, the battery eater, and actually it wasn't too bad to be honest. But yeah, I had the original Game Boy, and it was great, and it was fun, and I liked it. But I'm not gonna buy that again.
No.
Like, 30 years later, I'm not buying a 30-year-old console. I mean, that's what I see this as. I mean, it's going to have new games on it. They are developing new games specifically for it, but I don't see why anybody would want this. Who asked for this? Yeah, they are smart and they're going to make it limited run. And that's probably why it's so expensive. I mean, with manufacturing, you can make things cheaper.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't even see the purpose. Why even make this thing? This is not...
Oh, this is because you can.
Interesting. What's that?
This is a because you can.
Oh, yeah. But it just seems dumb.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, who wants this thing? I mean, I'd be far more willing to buy the sex game console that we talked about some months back.
I don't know. This one's got a crank.
Yeah, but the other one is a boob.
Again, crank.
Yeah, but...
You can be a weirdo on a bus cranking your Game Boy.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry,
yeah.
How many video games do you have that have a crank in them already?
None, because nobody asked for it.
Exactly.
And of all the things, that's an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of different controls you could add to a little, to a game system, and of all the possible controls you could add to a game system, the crank seems awfully limited.
Yeah.
On what you could do with it. I mean, it's.
I mostly think this will be a novelty item for weirdos like me. Like it's gonna be limited supplies. It's not meant to be a real it's not meant to be a real thing. It's just, hey, we're making this.
Yeah. I believe it actually has some. I assume it has Wi-Fi or something.
Don't know.
Weird.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I read another article that apparently they're going to release it with a certain number of games just for free built in.
Yeah,
And then then you'll be able to buy additional packs of games later.
I suppose it's like a USB port or something you can do something with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, the graphics, I mean, I'm just looking at the graphics right now. I'm kind of also been done on the whole pixel art graphics. It has to be a pretty darn good game to get me interested in playing a pixel art game, to be honest. I mean, and the thing is, I have played one kind of recently, Dead Cells, which is a fantastic game. I think we could see some cool custom type things. Well, sometimes limiting what like the capabilities and limiting what you can work with can actually create some pretty cool creativity. I think that's what actually like what we found on a lot of the early mobile consoles was working with what you have and trying to do something interesting with that. And I think with stuck to grayscale and this crank thing, it's probably going to have some interesting games on it.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to pay that much for it.
It seems nifty and weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of nifty and weird.
Are you going to keep doing that?
No, I actually don't have a good transition for that one. Speaking of dumb and confusing, more accurately, what if I told you they were making another Call of Duty Modern Warfare game, Henry?
I wouldn't care personally. But...
You wouldn't, but what if I told you this would be the second video game, hypothetically, by that exact same name, from the same developer in the same franchise?
And I would say God of War.
Fair, actually, yeah. I'm not. You're absolutely right. So it appears that the next Call of Duty game is going to just be called Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not to be confused with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. But you're absolutely right. We have two games just called God of War out there, so I should shut the hell up on this one. This is equally dumb. You're 100% right.
Yeah, it's why not? Why? Especially confusing if they ever think of making a remake. Which remake will it be of? Is it that Modern Warfare?
It's not even a remake.
That other Modern Warfare?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This one isn't a remake, but I mean, if they do choose to make a remake, which one will they remake?
This comes on the tails of a bunch of rumors about the current ongoing development of the next upcoming Call of Duty being a tad turbulent. So, of course, life is a nightmare with no ending. Telltale Gaming Disorder or Nate Nanzer next?
It doesn't matter to me.
Let's do Nate Nanzer quickly. It's a pretty quick one. Yeah. Nate Nanzer of OWL, it's the Overwatch League fame, has departed. He's the commissioner of that, actually. Has departed Blizzard for Epic Games to work as kind of the head of their esportification for Fortnite. You know that game? They keep trying to do this for it. It keeps kind of backfiring on them.
Well, and we talked about this some months back that Fortnite was about to dump literally billions of dollars into really pushing the competitive aspect of Fortnite.
I'm sure Nate Nanzer is part of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's 100% the reason he's going over there. But yep, and that's one section of that billions of dollars going over to him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We're about to come up on League of Legends, finally doing the thing I always wanted to do, which was not League of Legends. Sorry, the OWL have the teams actually live in the goddamn cities they play for. So, but also I feel like we've talked about the OWL a hell of a lot less this year than the second season we did the first season. Like it was new and inventive at first, and now it's kind of it's still a thing. The finals last
year
were
still wildly successful, and that's probably why they hired him on. It's just like, okay, well, you actually managed to pull it off, so let's see if you can pull it off with the most famous game ever.
Yeah, I continue to not be really sure if Fortnite esports is something people actually want or just something that a select group of people really want to make happen because reasons. I do not get
Because
that one.
money.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, because money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's weird. I say it's weird because there's a lot of similarities between Overwatch and Fortnite.
Yeah.
And, I guess certain similarities. But I don't know. I think people like to root for teams.
We are tribal that way.
Yeah, people like to root for teams, and Fortnite is a battle royale, and so, I mean, there's a reason why. All right, so I think it'll just always end up being more niche, like the fighting game community. Is I think Overwatch League gets a lot of people watching it. Like it has kind of a little more widespread popularity, but like the fighting game community, which is based on, individual people, individual players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, all right, so it's like, could you name for me a FGC person, a famous FGC person?
Daigo.
Yep. And that's only because of internet memes.
Sonic Fox.
Yeah. Because he won an award.
Uchimara. I'm sure there's someone named Uchimara.
But it's not as popular as, say, they're again rooting for a team, and I think that's what do you think they're gonna? Do you think they're gonna try to add an idea of a team aspect?
There already are technically team battles possible in Fortnite, so I guess and this is kind of where my reaction runs into this one, where I think if PUBG and Fortnite are the two big battle royales, I would rather watch competitive PUBG than Fortnite. Like, there's nothing about Fortnite I enjoy watching or engaging with. Like, it's...
I just like the building aspect of it. That makes it a little more interesting for me.
No, and I get the appeal of that, but it's one of those ones where it's like watching Minecraft at that point. It's just not for me, and I'd much rather just watch cool stuff being built than this kind of bizarre race to a tower thing that Fortnite seems to devolve into at high level. But I don't watch lots of Fortnite, so I could be talking on my ass at this point. There is mechanics in PUBG that Fortnite lacks that I think make it more inherently interesting to me as a competitive game. Like, I think of Fortnite in the same way as I think of Halo to a certain extent, where there's a lower skill to get kind of decent at the game compared to its competitors. Like, Halo is Fortnite, where kind of PUBG is as Counter-Strike, where Counter-Strike back when it was kind of Counter-Strike versus Halo, Counter-Strike was brutal. Counter-Strike still is brutal, but in some ways it's gotten more forgiving in a bizarre way. And as a result, at the time, I'd have rather watched Counter-Strike, because you could have matches over in seconds kind of thing. Like, the wrong thing would happen is everyone would get wiped in, like, just a couple clicks if you weren't careful kind of thing. And Halo was, wow, that guy has that shotgun, but he's going to kill a bunch of people real quick, or he's running the combo. Okay, cool, whatever. Sniper rifles, fun.
For me, personally, I prefer Ring of Elysium.
Yeah, you like playing that one more. I don't know what the esportification of Ring of Elysium is like. I personally...
Yeah, I don't know either.
I personally don't think any of the battle royales, the Fortnites, have good esports stuff that I actually want to watch, but also, with the exception of fighting games and like some speedrunny stuff, I don't watch esports. They're not for me because they're often in games I don't care about. Like, I feel shitty saying that, but like, I watch Evo because I like Evo and I like fighting games. But I think, like, compared to all the other ones, fighting games have the advantage of you can look at a fighting game and kind of get what's going on instantaneously. All of the
well, they're short for one thing.
Yeah,
like the matches are timed and not very long. They're just not going to be very long matches, and so they're generally going to be pretty full of action as well.
Yeah. OWL works because you can explain the rules of Overwatch pretty quickly. This team's attacking and they're trying to push this target to there, and this team's defending. Okay, cool, got it. MOBAs, You're trying to destroy the enemy base. Got it. Cool. You have to go through these towers to get there. Awesome. Battle Royales are a tad more complicated. I think it's why I like PUBG over Fortnite is Fortnite has the very cool but also like why the fuck are they building aspect of it, where PUBG is all about bullet drop and kind of horror game tension, which I think makes it more interesting to watch. And it like Fortnite is also the whole controversy thing. Like they had some health regeneration stuff going on that made that game aggressive to watch, which I thought sounded kind of cool. But that's gone, and lots of pro players, kind of air quotations, pro players for that game, are now pissed off at that game for changing that. And it kind of comes down to what type of game are you making. Counter-Strike is not confused who Counter-Strike is for. It's for Adderall and bethed out teenagers. It's not trying to appeal to anyone else. Fortnite wants to be everything to everyone, and I think that's the problem, because like you're never gonna get me to play Fortnite. Like they've done some stuff that seemed cool, but you're just never gonna get me to play. It's just that simple. I don't care about that. And if I'm gonna play a battle royale, I'm gonna play the kind of weirdly gritty, dark military shooter ones like Ring of Elysium or PUBG, because I don't want the added bullshit of like, oh, I have this pet and vehicles that are bubble cars and grappling hooks and yeah, like Fortnite's biggest asset is that whole like Guardians of the Thanos stuff they had seemed cool, but I'd rather just play that game than Fortnite. Like,
yeah, I just kind of think it's a hard one, because I mean, I think to make Fortnite a good competitive esport game, you're going to need some extremely good sort of people that are doing the camera work, as it was. Like, who are we going to spy on? But the problem is, there's a whole lot of it where people don't see each other for long periods of time, and it can sometimes be kind of hard to predict when two people are when you actually are gonna find a firefight. So yeah, it's gonna rely a lot on the camera work, and who to focus on, as well as the announcers making it exciting, because there's just long lull times of people just building things and not fighting.
Yeah, I would also argue that kind of all the stuff that makes Fortnite successful commercially makes it bad from an esports perspective. Like, that game is perpetually changing, which is cool. Bad for people that work for there, allegedly. But, like, as a consumer, it's neat that the game is progressing and changing that quickly. But, like, they just dropped a shotgun from, like, a shotgun from the game, and people seem pissed about that. And I could imagine, like, if you were a professional player and, like, you get real good at that shotgun, and they go, yo, shotgun's out of the game now, you'd be pissed. I don't know.
But that happens anyway, because, all right, so, I mean, just for Overwatch, they have drastically changed characters in Overwatch and changed the meta completely multiple times.
But they do it like a season standpoint as opposed to...
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, I mean, I can just... I can think of multiple instances where they actually changed characters pretty... So, I mean, that's always going to be a thing.
Yeah, and I think the difference being that, like, in that case, it's in the sake of balance and kind of a more competitive game. Fortnite occasionally seems to grapple with, like, accessibility and how do we make people that don't care about Fortnite competitive care about Fortnite competitive. I don't know. Like, again, like, it goes back to I don't watch Twitch to watch competitive battle royale games. I don't find them interesting, mostly because, as you mentioned, sometimes those games are won by people that get like 2 or 3 kills that just got real good loadouts and like camped it the rest of the fucking game. Yep.
And so there's too much lull time, whereas at least in some of the others that we've mentioned, like PUBG and Ring of Elysium, there's a push to keep exploring more, because you aren't stuck you don't just set up. There's you don't, in Fortnite you can kind of set up. There's no waiting around. It's more exploring. But even with that, it's like that's not that exciting watching players run around, looking at objects and then not liking the object and not even picking it up.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, then
they're like, oh, there's a gun. Okay, he didn't pick that one up. Oh, there's another gun. He didn't pick that one up. Oh, that has to be boring for an announcer.
And then
That's
you got other games out there too, the lesser well known, like Hunter's the Reckoning, which again is kind of a battle royale game, except the ultimate goal is not to kill the other players, it's to kill a monster and then extract with like the monster token. That's more cool. That's more fun to watch for me than other things. Like we don't talk about it often, but the game called Escape from Tarkov is what I think the future of battle royales is. But that game is also like still in super development and kind of sketchy development. But it's also inherently cool, where you have enemies on the map that are NPCs, but also like the greatest danger is other players.
Yeah. I'm interested in one called Egress. I remember hearing it about at an E4 or E3. I mean E3. So it's basically a battle royale in the Victorian era. So
you might want to check out Hunter the Reckoning then. I think it's called Hunter the Reckoning.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Hunter the Reckoning, but Egress sounds kind of cool too. I've kind of looked at it and checked it out a bit. That wouldn't be kind of cool. But
no,
yeah,
that's the wrong game.
But yeah, I've been checking out Hunter the Reckoning.
Sorry, Hunt Showdown. That's what I was thinking of.
The Hunt Showdown. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hunt. Yeah. And yeah, I've been looking at that. I haven't picked it up or anything, but
yeah,
it is still in early access, of course. But yeah, I'm definitely I've been thinking about that one too. I think, but for me, the best battle royale game, which I don't have because I don't have a Switch, is Tetris 99.
Yeah, Tetris 99 is cool.
You know what? I would watch competitive Tetris 99.
I have watched competitive Tetris 99.
Well, I mean, it's always competitive, but I mean, like as an esport.
Yeah. Oh no, I've watched a tournament of it. It was impressive. I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I wish I had a chance to play it. I would really love to play it.
Yeah.
Or no, I played it very, very briefly on somebody else's Switch, but I didn't really play much. But yeah, I am very interested in that. But yeah, yeah.
Second to last this week, gaming disorder is officially a thing. I feel like we talked about this being officially a thing a couple months back, but apparently it's now officially a thing on the World Health Organization list. I think last time we talked about it was being considered. But yes, gaming disorder is officially a disease. What is gaming disorder, you ask? It's basically addictive behavior of video games.
Yeah, I don't know about this. It seems really weird.
It's lumped in with a gambling disorder, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, they're both just compulsive disorders. I mean,
yeah.
I don't see a reason to separate them or even to... I don't know, this just seems to me the latest wave in just people... this latest attack on video gaming as a whole and on gamers as a whole. I think I agree that, alright, so some other mental health professionals apparently called it a junk diagnosis, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not in psychiatry, but it seems awfully vague and weird. Just, being a scientist, I just looking at how they've written it is just weird and vague. I mean, alright, so a pattern of persistent or recurring gaming behavior, which may be online or offline.
And an increasing priority given to gaming to the extreme that gaming
So
takes
what is
precedent over
gaming
one's life.
behavior? It's like, what is gaming behavior?
I think it's the
it
playing
makes no
of video
sense.
games, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it's too vague. It's so wide open, alright? So, I mean, it's because there's so many different types of what you would call video games. I mean, nobody would put Tetris 99 and Monster Hunter World in the same
I don't know. They're
same
both
category.
brutal games.
But they're completely different. And then I put those alongside Stories Untold, which I've been playing through, and it's like none of those games are even remotely similar in their mechanics, in what draws you to them, anything about them. I could just keep naming games that are just so wildly different from each other. How can you lump them all in and say gaming behavior? I mean, you might as well call watching TV a disorder.
Well, and I think that's kind of like when you get into the thing I was mentioning, like the increasing priority given to gaming to the extreme, that gaming is pressing over other life activities and daily activities. Like someone made a joke to me once where it's like, if you talked about an activity the way some people talk about running, is it like remember a couple years ago when people were fucking obsessed with the activity of running, where like everyone was doing marathons, all of a sudden like running was suddenly the cool activity to do?
Yeah.
Like it was the idea of because we think of running as a healthy activity, except occasionally you can overrun and injure yourself pretty badly. Blah, 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 blah. It was this bizarre time period where the joke kind of was, yeah, if you replace the word running with anything else, these people seem like they have a real addiction of some kind. But because it's running,
and that's
it's fine.
really what it just needs to be classified as. It's addiction. It's compulsion. It's compulsive behavior.
Yeah.
And that's all they really need to do instead of. And this is to me the big thing. It's really just an attempt to demonize gaming.
Yep.
It's yet another crass, ham-fisted attempt to demonize gaming and to demonize gamers.
Yep.
And I think it's super dumb. Kind of, honestly, screw them for even doing that, because it's not even mental health professionals agree on that at all. But all of them, and it's not helpful. And that's the thing. These diagnoses are supposed to be helpful. This is not helpful. It's too vague, and it's just a part of the greater part of addiction. I mean, all right, so how would you diagnose it? You would diagnose it the exact same way you would diagnose any addiction. So how does that help? It doesn't help anything. It doesn't assist with anything. It just adds a demonization of a perfectly normal activity. I mean, are we going to have sports disorder? Because holy crap,
that's just like I'm getting
sports.
at. Yeah, like that's. But sports are healthy and normal and not video games.
I'm not talking about playing sports. I'm talking about fans of sports.
That's what I'm getting at too.
Yeah.
Sports are normal to be that into.
Yeah, I think this is ham-fisted, dumb, unhelpful, demonizing a perfectly normal pastime. It's like, seriously, like people know all the stats of every player on their favorite teams, as well as other teams. They buy loads of stuff. They dress up, like they go to games painted up. I mean, are we going to call that? I mean, and they will do this at the cost of their health, their money, their budget. So are we gonna make a new one, sports disorder? Because you might as well, if you're going to keep making specific versions of addiction, you might as well make one for every single type of addiction. I mean, it's not helpful, it's not useful, it's too vague, amazingly vague, because video games as a medium are even more, are so vastly different than even like, it would be easier to make a sports disorder definition.
Yeah.
Because generally your fans of sports are kind of acting in very similar ways.
Yep.
And are engaging in the same activities.
Yep.
The exact same types of activities. That is, information about your favorite teams and players, paraphernalia, jerseys and
yep.
whatever. Whereas with games, it's like you can't compare a World of Warcraft player with somebody playing Stories Untold with somebody playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
it's completely different behaviors. I mean, it's just different behaviors. That's why. All right. So in video game design, video game production, video game design, there's one part of the process where you try to identify your target audience, because your target audience varies wildly.
Yeah.
Because of and this is on some very specific things. One of them being the amount of time spent per play. And so that is, are we looking to capture your casual players who maybe spend between a couple of minutes to maybe 10 or 15 at the most to play a game? Are we going at sort of the medium, people who could go from 30 to a couple of hours? Are we looking for hardcore, people who will play a game for like 8 hours, but take stops or whatever, but come back to it in the same day, and that's completely different types of behavior already, right there, as well as what they do in the game. I mean, playing a mobile game is different than playing like an FPS, is different than playing a game with a gamepad.
Yeah.
Or even versus mouse and keyboard, and it's not one thing. It's not one thing at all. And the behavior, and see, that's the way these are classified, is they're identified by behavior. But the behavior for different types of video games is so wildly different. Like I said, it's way more similar between people that are fans of sports.
Yeah.
Sports fans have the same behaviors. They mirror each other. Different types of video gamers don't mirror each other's behaviors. It's just wildly different. Somebody can be addicted to World of Warcraft, and another person can be addicted to Pokemon Go, but their behavior and their actions are going to be wildly different. And the thing that's actually addicting them, that is the part of the game, the mechanics of the game, or what element of the game is actually addicting them, that's going to be wildly different.
Yep.
So this classification doesn't help with that at all. It's dumb. I mean,
yep.
Seriously, they must have nobody in their entire organization who've played a video game, which blows me away.
I think it's more...
seriously, they must not have a single person in their entire organization that's ever picked up a video game. How can anybody be this completely dense and dumb about video games in 2019? If this was 1980, I would understand that. I'm like, yeah, there's not been a lot of research, not a lot of people know about video games, and so maybe they don't know. No, it's 2019. Do some research. I will gift you some video games on Steam so that you know what a video game is, you idiots.
I don't disagree with your anger on this one. I think it's distilling it down to they've just never played a video game is a little unfair is the wrong word.
But they have. It's obvious that they haven't. I mean, to me, it's completely obvious that they haven't. They have not studied them seriously, or else they would realize exactly what I've been talking about.
I would argue they're probably pulling from examples that fit their thesis. Like this is one of those ones
which
where
is even worse. Cherry picking your data.
Oh no, I'm not saying that's a good
even
thing.
Worse.
I'm saying that is worse. My point more being like it's And they're not saying games inherently cause this. It's kind of like alcoholism at this point. Not everyone has alcoholism that drinks alcohol, but it is a classification now with the World Health Organization, which is a whole kind of weirder topic. And I think the argument of it doesn't need to exist because it's a general addiction is a fair one. The fact it's nestled up to gaming as opposed to kind of more of a compulsion, I don't know how to feel about that one personally, but
it's like you can't even compare different types of people who would have gaming disorder. I mean, how is this even useful? I mean, I'm just thinking about this from the perspective of a psychiatrist,
for a very specific group of people, so they can slap labels on stuff, and those people don't care how accurate this is.
But it's like these things are supposed to help mental health professionals, and this is not helpful.
I would argue that a lot of these classifications probably don't necessarily help.
Man, I wish Dr. Jim was here to weigh in on this. I think he'd have way better insight. But I mean, I'm
willing to bet there's a bunch of junk classifications
within
this too. Like,
Yeah,
why
it's
does this
just, it
exist?
doesn't, I mean, it's so vague, it's not even useful in figuring anything out. Like I said, the addictive behaviors of different games are
Yeah.
vastly different. What's actually drawing people to play these games? What draws you to play Pokemon Go is not going to be the same set of
Oh yeah, no. If this
things
was
that make
if
you
this
want to
was
play
like
Monster Hunter
Wowaholism
World.
or something, I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, that's a thing.
Yeah, I can get that because that's a very specific thing. It is
Yeah.
what draws you into. I mean, and not just WoW. I'd say into MMORPGs.
Yeah.
I could say that could possibly be one because then you can pinpoint. All right, so this is the type of gamer that's into these is they're putting a lot of hours into it at one time instead of just spurts of 5 to 10 minutes every so often.
Yeah.
And that it's and other activities like that are the addiction part, the grinding part of it.
Yeah.
And which makes it, I mean, and those are very different things than what attracts people to probably get addicted to Pokemon Go.
Yep.
It's not the same. Just not the same. It's just, so having this blanket disorder is dumb, makes no sense, literally helps no one in anything, and just demonizes video games for even further for, idiots in government who've never played a video game, so that they can point at that and say, oh, look, it's a disease. It's a disease. That's really all it is. I'm pretty sure this has been done by ignorant political politicians. That's really what this, I feel like this is driven by. It's political. I really do feel like it's political, so that
Sure.
to a certain extent, so that they can point at and say, look, gaming's an addiction. Let's put a bunch of dumb laws on it.
No, I agree.
I'm pretty vehemently disagree. This is why with actual important things going on in the world that you could be studying and researching that are way more important and way harsher. It's like you throw out a blanket definition to demonize video games.
Yep.
Well done. No, thanks, I hate it.
But if they're not doing it, who will? Yeah. Yep.
End rant.
Yep. So we saved this last one for last because it's not controversial. It's just dumb. So, Telltale Games, as we all know, Telltale, a company that got the employees got fucked sideways when it shut down kind of abruptly and a lot of people lost their jobs, is literally getting delisted from a variety of digital platforms currently.
So, bye-bye for good,
Yeah,
Telltale.
it definitely seems that way. So what delisting means, as opposed to being gone forever, just means you won't be able to buy these things. If you've been curious about them, now would be the time to buy such things. The Wolf Among Us, the Batman games, and the Tales from the Borderlands being the only ones I can actively recommend of that franchise. Go get them now. Go get them as soon as you can. By the time this goes up, I think they will officially be gone, which is kind of shitty, but yeah.
Well, we can say, dead telltales tell no tales.
Yes. Well, so do you get what's going on with what's going on with these is even more insane than it seems at face value, because the games are selling still pretty okayly. It's the fact there's no one to pay the royalties to that's the problem.
Well, I thought somebody bought the rights.
That may be the case, but I don't know at this point.
Isn't that right? I thought somebody had
maybe
had
to
bought the
Walking
rights.
Dead.
Not to all of it. I think it was pieced apart to a certain extent. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If there's like, who does this money actually go to? That's the question. Then you can't really sell it.
Well, so, and that's kind of what we have to talk.
Weird.
It's kind of a cool thing to talk about, I think, and so because these are digital platforms, they have technically an infinite stock of the game.
Yes,
and you can probably go buy these games in a store. There's gonna be no legal issues. Why? The store, for better or worse, owns the physical copy of the game.
They already bought it.
Yeah,
they bought it.
It's theirs. Yeah, it's theirs. They can sell it. But because you can essentially kind of like, hypothetically, there's an end to the number of Steam keys Steam could put out, except there really probably technically isn't, so they can keep printing the game quotations on printing forever, hypothetically. And just because you have the money lying around doesn't mean it actually belongs to you. So from a business standpoint, you have to remove the ability to wind up with surplus money, essentially, from a legal standpoint, which is why this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, all right, so there is a weird game system, or not really game system, game add-on called the Aladdin for the original NES.
Yeah.
And it's not clear whether it was actually put out for sale on a wide scale.
Yep.
But it was on a small scale. But you had these basically a couple of businesses that bought the remaining stock whenever the company went out of business, whenever they stopped producing them.
Yeah.
Kind of that branch went out of business. And so they ended up with a bunch of this hardware. Well, because they bought this actual hardware, they were able to sell it. So all the Aladdins floating around now are primarily from this couple of businesses that just bought all this stock, and then because they bought the stock, they could sell it. There's a limited amount, and they actually properly bought them. Whereas with, like you said, with Steam and Good Old Games and whatever, they don't buy every digital copy and then sell it to you. That's not the way it works.
Well, even if they are, they're kind of generating the keys to give you access to it. Like, it's...
Yeah. And so, it's a weird situation, but it just has to happen in this case. They can't, there's not leftover copies of this thing hanging around on a store shelf.
Yeah. I just find this whole concept fascinating because it's some dark cyberpunk shit where it's like, never need to think about this before, but now we totally do.
Yep.
And it's a nightmare. A beautiful, kind of fascinating to think about nightmare, but a nightmare nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, the digital distribution age has changed a lot of the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically have to have their own set of rules in the way they work, and expect to see more of, even more of this happening pretty often, as games are delisted simply because the company that produces them no longer exists.
Yep. And on that same vein, you're going to find people buying up, I guess, like essentially distribution rights for these that have nothing to do with games just to make the money off kind of the back end of it. Like, it's the bizarre one of, like, from a publisher standpoint, a game's got to make money to be profitable. But from, like, if I could buy a Telltale game at this point, a couple hundred sales a month is a pretty good deal in my book still. Hell, like 10 is still money in my pocket, hypothetically.
It's like, I mean, you didn't have to make the game or support it even.
Yeah, I'm out no money
really.
Except the ownership of that thing, which, hypothetically, if it's in this situation, probably could be paid off relatively quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
So I'd like to announce SWS Holding will be buying dead video game companies so that we can reap the benefits of their slow, bleeding death Steam sales.
Yay!
Is it scummy? Yes. Are we going to do it still? Yeah. If we can afford to. Soon we will be Telltale Games, or Telltold Games. Toldtail Games? Developing nothing new and just camping on rights. And we're going to come after all of you YouTubers that do the games. For no reason.
Yep. Monetize everything.
Basically, yeah. That does it for news this week. I'm going to check on emails if we have this. I don't believe we have any this week. But if you wanted to contact us, Henry, how would you go about doing that?
That would be wickedawesomecast@gmail.com.
Again, that is wickedawesomecast@gmail.com. Spells it sounds down in the show notes, etc. We indeed don't have any emails this week. My memory was not betraying me. So, that does it for this week. Anthony, you want to talk before we get the hell out of here?
I'll just mention that I've been getting started back into social media, so I will actually have posts on there again. I am on I'm on Facebook and on Instagram as Kraken0. That is ZER0. And also I am Nomad Har, Nomad HAR on Twitch. And so that's where you can see my stuff and be reached. Yep. Yeah, that's, I don't know, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say.
No, good enough. Yeah, that does it for this week. Do you want to take us out or should I?
Alright, cue the metal.